Sawicki, driver of Junior Dragster 1912, and in this video I'm going to show you how to service your shockwave overdrive clutch. Before getting started, I'm just going to go over the tools we're going to be using throughout this video. This right here is a spring compressor tool. Here we have a spider tool. We have a 1/2-inch drive ratchet, a torque wrench, 5/32 socket end wrench, and then an 1.25 socket. After you move the clutch off of your car, you're going to slip it onto this piece, which almost mimics what the clutch is on your car. Therefore, you can work on the clutch without it sliding or moving around. Next, we have this tool that we use that screws into the top of the clutch and holds it down while we're taking the screws out. Next, most of these clutches have an Allen screw in there, so you're going to take whatever size Allen wrench fits in there and just unscrew the bolts with this clamp down. Once you remove all the bolts from your clutch, you can now unscrew this top piece. After that, continue by unscrewing the piece from the clutch. Once you finish with that, remove the top piece and the spring. Be careful and check to see if there is a shim underneath your spring. If there is, just keep that safe on the side. The next step is to remove this piece right here, which is the spider. If you notice, we have a tool that fits into the slots on the spider, so you can unscrew it. You take your 1.25 socket and ratchet. You also may notice that it's extremely tight, so you may need a bar to put on the edge of that ratchet to give you extra leverage. Once it gives you that initial snap, you're good to go and unscrew it by hand. So another thing to look out for is shims underneath the spider. Make sure you keep those all together and put those to the side. Once you take the shims off, you can proceed by taking that off, and then you can start the cleaning. Your clutch will most likely be shiny, and you don't want that because that can cause belt slippage. So in order to take care of that, I take a piece of Scotch-Brite, and you're going to scratch up the surface of that in order to give it a rougher surface and more grip. So once you finish getting that nice dull look on your bottom piece, you're going to do the same thing to your top piece. It's also very important that as you go, you clean every surface with brake clean to remove any grease and aluminum dust from Scotch-Briting. The next step after you clean those two surfaces is to clean out the inside of the top piece and remove all the rubber from the belt that's getting there. Next, you're going to clean off your spider just like you did with the top piece with brake clean, just removing all of the dirt and the rubber that gets in there. Moving on to the last piece, you're just going to keep on cleaning out that rubber and dirt, and you're also, if you notice, there's a brass fitting in there. It might be dirty. If you want, you can clean that out with a piece of Scotch-Brite. The first part reassembling is you're going to put this top piece right back on the bottom piece. Also, if you removed shims from in there, make sure you add those right back on so you don't forget to put those on. After that, you're going to add your spider back on and screw it back on to the clutch. Another note about the shims, if you took shims off from under the spring, make sure you add those back in there also. Then you can add your spring and the top piece on top of that, and then you can begin re-screwing them down. Moving on to our final steps here, you're going to start screwing the screws back in. An important thing to note is when you're doing this, you have to screw them in equally. So if you put one screw in here, you're going to put another one in here and tie it down equally. That way you don't bind up the clutch.
You've got some grease on your face. There we go.
Just to make sure that your clutch won't come apart and these bolts will stay in real nice, you're going to take your torque wrench and a 5/32 socket, and you're going to torque the bolts on the clutch.
Got a little more grease on your forehead.
Thank you. Once you finish torquing those bolts, you can go ahead and unscrew this. You can go ahead, move your clutch, and there you have it, your service clutch. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments, and good luck racing, everyone.